Hello everyone, and welcome to this new tutorial where we will see together how to modify and cut an already existing 3D model. In this video I will show you a simple method, but know that there are also other ways to cut or modify an already existing 3D model. So we will find ourselves on your computer and on the 3D model site you want. For example, I chose Ultimaker, but there are many others. I will put some in description here. You will look for the 3D model you want to modify. I personally chose this small figurine that I want to enlarge and that I will cut into 4 pieces. So for that first I will download it. Once you have downloaded it, you save it to the location you want on your computer and you right-click extract here. You then go to the 3D model files, and there, as you can see, normally these are files to print directly. We don't have the STL files, but it's not a problem. So you will open Fusion 360, you will then go to Mesh, then Insert and Insert Mesh. Here, you just need to find the 3D model you want to modify on your computer. You click on it and you open it. Here, you just have to arrange the 3D model as you wish and make one enter. Now that the 3D model is placed, I will put myself on the video so that it is simpler and we will be able to start preparing the cutting plans. So first, I'm going to click on Create a Cutting Plan Sketch. I choose the model I want to cut, and there, as you can see, automatically it creates an orange line that will be my cutting plan. So I just have to move it to where I want to make my cut. I want to cut it right in the middle. At this level, you can get closer to be more precise. Once the location suits you, you stay on the basic settings on the right side and you do OK. Then you just have to repeat the same action for the number of cuts you want. I need a second one in the other direction, so I'm going to click on the same tool again. I reselect my 3D model, and this time I rotate it 90 degrees. You place it where you want, and once it suits you, you just do OK. Now that I have all my cutting plans, I will be able to make the cuts of my mesh. So for that, I just select the cut plan tool, I click on it, I select my 3D model, I open the sketches folder, and there I select my cut plan. So first, I'm going to cut my mesh vertically, then horizontally I select my first sketch. And in the settings on the right, I come to the type level select, split the body into 2, and in fill type you can choose either uniform or minimum depending on what you want. Personally, I advise you uniform. Once these settings suit you, you just do OK automatically. As you can see, my mesh now has 2 colors, which means that my mesh has been cut in 2. You then repeat this action for the number of cut planes you have made. So me for the example, I reselect the plane cut tool, I select the right part, and this time I come to select my other cutting plane. This time the parameters on the right are automatically filled, so I just have to do OK. Finally, I reselect the tool. This time I select the left part of my model. I reselect my horizontal cutting plane, and I do OK now. As you can see, my mesh has been cut into 4 different models. You can also see it in core. Once you have finished cutting all your mesh, we will have to convert it to solid. So for that, I will select embody all my meshes. So to do this, you just click on the first one, then using shift by clicking on the last one, it will select all of them. Then I go into edit and convert the mesh at the right level. We check that all the bodies have been selected, so I have 4 bodies. And we will leave the default method, that is to say the A facet method. I do OK and I wait for the mesh to convert to solid. It can be longer or shorter, depending on the number of cuts you have to make and the size of your 3D model. Now that we converted to solid, we will be able to hide the cutting planes. We will no longer need it. And personally, I will gather the head in a single model because I want to print it in a single part on the other hand. So for this, I come to select the 2 parts of my head. I return to solid, then in modify and combine on the right part. I choose the join option and I do OK. Now as you can see, my head has been reunited in a single part for the rest, and that it is simpler, I advise you to put your 3D model in exploded view. To do this, you just need to select the tool. Move then copy. You then select the part you want to move and you do OK. Repeat this action on all parts of your body. Make sure that your 3D model stays aligned. It will be important for the future. Once the 3D model is in exploded view, you will hide a part of your model to be able to make the holes to assemble it. Later, for example, I will hide the right part, and this time I will put myself on the right view. Once I'm there, I'll be able to create my sketch so I can make my holes and sticks to assemble the 3D model later. So I go into sketch, I select the place where I want to make my hole. You can get a little closer. Here you have several options, either you make holes in a circle, or you make the hole in a square shape. It will depend on what you prefer, but especially on your 3D model depending on how it will assemble and if it has complex shapes. If a basic shape, I advise you to start rather on holes and sticks in the shape of a square that will allow you to align your 3D model much more easily afterwards. But if the hole is in a complex area, I advise you to make round sticks to allow a little more flexibility when you sit your 3D model. Well, for the example, I will choose to make round holes, but in reality, since the shape is not very complex, I could very well have chosen squares. So here you select the circle tool, you put yourself roughly in the center and you make a hole of 1-2 millimeters. Then, always in the same place, you will reselect the circle tool, you will return to the center, and you will create a second circle of 1 millimeter that will allow you to form your future sticks. You repeat this action on each part of your 3D model that needs to be assembled. Try to make your circles as close to the center as possible to get the best solidity when assembling your 3D model. Now that you have all your sketches, we can move on to drilling, so you just select the extrusion tool, you select your sketch, and you make a 1.2mm hole. Now that I've done that side, I'm going to do the other side, and I'm coming to reappear the parts that I had made disappear beforehand. I reselect the extrusion tool, I reselect my sketches, I put myself in abutment to know how far my sketches are from my 3D model, and I add 1.2mm to drill me, in this case 3.2. Once this is done, I will be able to create my sticks, so for that, I reselect the extrusion tool. This time I will select only the inside of my sketch, and I will extrude 1mm on each side. Now that it's done, I can pop up my entire 3D model to check that everything matches up right here. As you can see, the holes are facing nicely, and I also have a small margin for my stick to add glue later and make the 3D model assembly more solid. Now that you have done it in this place, you just have to repeat it in the different places where it is necessary to add holes and rods to assemble your future 3D model. Me, for this example, I would have to add some at that level and at that level, as well as for the head, so as to obtain a kind of grid making the 3D model much more solid during assembly. Once you have all your sticks and all your wheel, you will independently record each body part. So for that, you just have to right-click on the part you want to save and then save as mesh. At the format level, we choose STL type unit millimeter, and you do OK at the name level. Of course, you choose what you want. You repeat this action for each part of your 3D model. Once you have saved all the parts of your 3D model, you open Cura and drag and drop your 3D model into it. Here, as you can see, the size has remained very small, but in terms of scaling, I will be able to modify the different parameters to be able to scale it as I want. Keep well uniform scale, and for the example, I want it to be about 6 times larger than the base size, so I will put 600%. You then enter the parameters you want at the level of the right according to your 3D printer and the result you want to obtain, then you cut. You check that all parameters have been taken into account and you save it on your key. Once you have saved all the parts of your Model 3 on your US key, well, you just need to insert it into your 3D printer and launch the printer well. Be careful to keep the same scale for all parts of your 3D model, but also small sticks allowing the assembly of your 3D model. As you can see during the assembly, personally I had chosen round sticks, which allows to assemble the 3D model a little easier. However, it is a little less accurate to align your 3D model correctly. In addition, I chose to add hot glue when assembling the 3D model, but you are not obliged according to your 3D model. That's the end of this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments, and if you have other tutorials that you want me to do in the next videos, you can also tell me in the comments. In the meantime, if you're interested, you can check out my other videos. You can like, share, and subscribe. We'll meet again in the next video. It's Take Coin Flyer and that.